Since acquiring Jimmy Butler at the beginning of February, the Golden State Warriors have been one of the most successful teams in the NBA. They've managed to climb out of the play-in tournament and position themselves for a deep playoff run in the Western Conference. But despite all the positive momentum, I still see a major issue that could impact this team's future in a significant way. I don't want to sound overly negative, especially considering how well they've been playing recently, but there's something about this situation that just doesn't sit right with me. The problem, in my view, revolve around two key figures in the organization, Joe Lacob and his deep attachment to Jonathan Kuminga. Now, don't get me wrong, Kuminga is a talented player with a lot of potential. But potential doesn't always translate into the kind of production a championship contending team needs. And as much as I respect Lacob for what he's built in Golden State, his unwavering belief in Kuminga could end up being a costly mistake. Kuminga just doesn't seem to fit in this Warriors lineup the way they need him to. Maybe I'm being too critical, but this isn't just a reaction to recent performances. It's an opinion I've held for quite some time. Watching him play, it's clear that his style doesn't necessarily complement the system Steve Kerr has cultivated. And yes, I understand that he missed over 30 games due to an ankle injury, which undoubtedly set him back. No one expects him to come back at full strength immediately. However, in the few games he's played since returning, he hasn't exactly inspired confidence. His offense looks forced, and his decision-making hasn't improved in the way the coaching staff would have hoped. In fact, a lot of the things Steve Kerr specifically wanted him to avoid upon returning seem to be exactly what he's doing. The numbers don't lie. His shooting percentages are down, his efficiency has taken a hit, and his overall impact on the court has been questionable at best. For a player who has historically shot above 50% from the field, seeing him dip to around 40% is concerning. And it's not just about the raw numbers. His shot selection has been poor, and he's struggled to integrate himself seamlessly into the team's offensive flow. Right now, he's only playing around 23 minutes per game, still on a minutes restriction as he ramps back up. But even within those limited minutes, there's been a noticeable lack of confidence in his jump shot. He's hesitating in the mid-range, failing to finish at the rim with the authority that once defined his game, and ultimately not playing like the aggressive, efficient scorer he was expected to be. And if this is the version of Kuminga that Golden State is expected to build around for the future, I have serious concerns about what that means for the team's long-term success. Looking ahead to the offseason, the Warriors will have to make a decision on Kuminga's contract. And with the way things are trending, I can't say I'd be comfortable committing a massive financial investment to him. If the front office decide to hand him a lucrative extension, they're essentially betting on him developing into a franchise cornerstone, a player who can help carry the team forward as Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler age out of their prime years. Right now, I'm not convinced he's that guy. Making a long-term commitment to Kuminga could lock the Warriors into a situation where they're stuck paying a significant amount of money for a player who hasn't proven he can be a reliable piece in high-stakes situations. The financial implications of a max or near-max deal for Kuminga could be disastrous, especially for a team already dealing with major salary cap constraints. If this move backfires, it could set the Warriors back for years, forcing them into a difficult rebuild rather than allowing them to remain competitive. For now, though, the focus remains on this season. Golden State has about a dozen games left in the regular season, and their goal is to secure a solid playoff spot. The difference between finishing in the play-in tournament versus locking in a top 6 seed could be massive, and every remaining game matters. If they want to avoid the uncertainty of the play-in, they'll need to stay locked in, continue building chemistry, and maximize their strengths. And that brings us back to Kuminga's role in this team's immediate success. Over the 15 or so games before he returned from injury, the Warriors were playing some of their best basketball of the season. The ball movement was crisp, the offense was well-spaced, and they looked like a cohesive unit. The addition of Butler had clearly provided the kind of veteran leadership and scoring presence that helped take some of the pressure off Steph Curry. But since Kuminga's return, the offense has started to stagnate at times. He's been a ball stopper. Whenever the ball finds his hands, the flow of the offense seems to come to a halt. Instead of keeping the ball moving, he tends to isolate put his head down, and force his way into contested shots. If he gets a mismatch, sure, that's one thing. But when he's settling for mid-range jumpers or throwing up wild attempts at the rim early in the shot clock, it completely disrupts what the Warriors are trying to do. This is exactly what Kerr wanted to avoid. The whole reason the Warriors brought in Butler was to relieve some of the offensive burden from guys like Curry and Kuminga, allowing them to play within a system rather than feeling like they need to be heroes every possession. Yet, despite this, Kuminga has still been forcing the issue, and it's been hurting the team. Statistically, his scoring efficiency has taken a significant hit. His true shooting percentage, a stat that accounts for field goal, three-point, and free throw shooting, ranks in the bottom quarter of the league. His free throw shooting is another major concern, sitting at around 64%, which places him in the bottom tier among NBA players. And for someone whose biggest strength is supposed to be attacking the rim, his finishing numbers haven't exactly been elite. Breaking it down further, his effective field goal percentage is alarmingly low, and his mid-range game has been particularly bad. He's shooting just 31% from mid-range, which is among the worst in the league. That's not a small sample size issue. That's a real concern when evaluating his offensive capabilities moving forward. If you see Kuminga take a mid-range jumper, you can almost guarantee it's not going in. And then there's the question of shot selection. Too often, he takes low-percentage shots early in the shot clock before the rest of the team has even had a chance to set up. These rushed, ill-advised attempts not only hurt his efficiency, but also kill the rhythm of the offense. It's a problem that has been apparent ever since he came back. And unless something changes soon, it's going to continue being a major issue down the stretch of the season. That brings us back to the bigger picture. Joe Lacob seems to be fully committed to Kuminga's development, believing he's worth a significant long-term investment. But is that really the best move for this franchise? Is Kuminga someone the Warriors can trust to be a foundational piece moving forward? If the answer to that question isn't a resounding yes, then they have to start considering other options. There's still time for Kuminga to prove himself, but as it stands right now, I wouldn't be comfortable banking on him as a core piece of this team's future. If he doesn't show significant improvement over the next few months, the Warriors will need to seriously consider their alternatives, whether that means reducing his role, rethinking their rotation, or even exploring trade possibilities in the offseason. Because at the end of the day, this team is built around winning championships, and if Kuminga isn't helping them achieve that goal, then tough decisions will have to be made. Looking ahead to the offseason, the Warriors will face one of the biggest decisions in recent franchise history: what to do with Jonathan Kuminga. The reality is, when you pay a player big money, you're committing to them as a central piece of your roster for years to come. And right now, it's hard to justify that kind of commitment to Kuminga. He's still young, just 22 years old, but at some point, youth stops being an excuse and actual production becomes the defining factor. He'll be entering his 5th year in the league next season. And the question remains, has he truly developed into the kind of player who can be relied upon to contribute consistently at the highest level? The answer, unfortunately, isn't looking promising. Take a closer look at what Kuminga has done this season, and the concerns become even clearer. His efficiency numbers are downright bad. His true shooting percentage ranks in the 24th percentile across the league. That means nearly 75% of NBA players are scoring more efficiently than he is. His free throw shooting, sitting at just 64%, is even worse, placing him in the bottom 10% of all free throw shooters in the NBA. For a guy who relies on attacking the basket, being that unreliable at the line is a major problem. And it gets worse when you break it down further. His finishing at the rim, which is supposed to be his greatest strength, is barely above average. He ranks in the 66th percentile, which isn't bad, but certainly not elite. Meanwhile, his effective field goal percentage is near the bottom of the league, and his mid-range game is an absolute disaster. He's shooting just 31% from mid-range, ranking in the 8th percentile. That means over 90% of NBA players are better mid-range shooters than Kuminga. That's unacceptable for a guy who's looking for a massive contract extension. And then there's the shot selection. Too many times, he's taking low-percentage shots early in the shot clock, before the rest of the team has even had a chance to set up. It's one thing to be an inefficient scorer. It's another to actively hurt your team's offense with poor decision-making. And that's what Kuminga has been doing ever since returning from injury. It's clear that Steve Kerr doesn't fully trust him to be on the court in critical moments. Look at the recent game against the Milwaukee Bucks, for example. Kuminga was subbed out late in the fourth quarter, and the Warriors' closing lineup, without him, ended up securing the win. That tells you everything you need to know. Kerr didn't want him on the floor when it mattered most. And if the coaching staff doesn't trust him to be in the closing lineup, then why should the front office trust him enough to invest $30+ million per year in him? The reality is Kuminga might have cost himself millions with his recent performances. Before the season, he reportedly turned down a 5-year, $150 million contract extension, betting on himself to earn an even bigger deal in free agency. But that bet doesn't look like it's paying off. His flaws have become more apparent, and his lack of development in key areas, shooting, playmaking, defensive awareness, makes it hard to justify giving him that kind of payday. And it's not just about this season. When you look at the bigger picture, you have to ask, is Kuminga really a foundational piece for the Warriors moving forward? This is a franchise that's already dealing with major salary cap issues. If they commit big money to Kuminga, they're locking themselves into a future where he's expected to be one of the faces of the franchise. But based on what we've seen so far, that's not a future that inspires confidence. It's time to seriously consider the alternative. Should the Warriors trade Kuminga this summer? That might be the best option. If he's not a long-term fit, then it's better to move him now while he still has value rather than overpay him and regret it later. The Warriors could explore sign-and-trade possibilities, sending him to a team that believes in his potential while getting back assets that better fit their system. There are teams out there that might be willing to take a chance on him, hoping they can develop his raw athleticism into something more refined. But for Golden State, keeping him and giving him a massive contract could be a long-term mistake. Think about what the Warriors truly need. Since acquiring Jimmy Butler, they've been at their best when they have floor spacers, high IQ players, and guys who complement Steph Curry's style of play. That's why their offense looked so good before Kuminga returned. It was fluid, well-spaced, and disciplined. But since he's been back, that flow has been disrupted. His ball-stopping tendencies have made it harder for the Warriors to execute their game plan. And that's not a coincidence. If the Warriors had the chance to trade Kuminga for a more efficient, well-rounded player, wouldn't they have to consider it? Reports have already surfaced that the Brooklyn Nets were willing to trade Cam Johnson for Kuminga earlier in the season. And when you compare the two players' numbers, it's not even close. Cam Johnson is significantly more efficient across the board. Better true shooting percentage, better three-point shooting, better mid-range shooting, better free throw shooting. He fits the Warriors' system better. Yet, Golden State held on to Kuminga. Now, in hindsight, that might have been a mistake. Because if Kuminga's stock continues to drop, the Warriors might not get another opportunity to move him for a high-value return. They need to act while they still have leverage. At this point, what's the best move? Do you bench Kuminga for the remainder of the season? Not necessarily full games, but do you cut his minutes down to 15 to 20 per night and limit his role? Do you use him in specific situations rather than trying to force him into a role that doesn't fit? Or do you go all in on trading him in the summer and getting back a player who can actually contribute to a winning team? These are the questions the Warriors need to be asking themselves right now. Because if they make the wrong decision with Kuminga, it could have serious long-term consequences. The bottom line is simple. If Kuminga isn't helping the team win, then his role needs to be adjusted. If he can't be trusted in closing lineups, then why should he be trusted with a massive contract extension? The Warriors have championship aspirations. Every roster decision matters. And if they aren't careful, they could find themselves locked into a bad contract that limits their ability to build a true contender in the future. So what do you do with Kuminga? Do you keep him and hope he develops into the player the front office believes he can be? Or do you trade him this summer and bring in a more reliable, efficient player who can help the team win now? It's a tough decision, but it's one the Warriors can't afford to get wrong. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. A shocking rumor is circulating in the NBA world. Klay Thompson may have told Steve Kerr he wants to leave the Golden State Warriors. A video clip, now making waves on social media, allegedly shows a heated conversation between the Warriors sharpshooter and his longtime coach. Though no official confirmation has been made, fans are speculating that Thompson, who has spent his entire career with Golden State, could be ready for a new chapter. If true, this could mark the end of an era for the Warriors and their legendary Splash Brothers duo. The potential departure of Thompson would send shockwaves through the league. A four-time champion and one of the greatest shooters in history, his exit would leave a massive void in Golden State's roster. Some analysts believe the frustration stems from contract uncertainties and the team's struggles this season. With free agency approaching, speculation is running wild. Could Thompson reunite with a former teammate, seek a fresh start with a contender, or even take on a mentor role in a rebuilding franchise? As the rumor mill spins, the basketball world is left waiting for an official response from Thompson or Kerr. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.